checkers and pleasers, and welcome to another episode of Yes Please. Today we are continuing the story from the end of episode 45 and a little bit after the beginning of episode 46, kind of in a vague range there, but you'll understand it in good time. This takes place in the evening when either people are resting for the night, watching for the evening, doing that normal bit of nighttime antics that the Circle Seekers tend to be up to, which is not a lot, but it feels like a lot sometimes. And on this night, Louie and Xander are both very much so wide awake. One for magical reasons and one for natural reasons. In quotations.
Which one is which?
That's a really good question. I'm going to leave it up to the audience.
Sure.
Currently, Louie is looking over his spellbook near the fire. He's just kind of flipping through the pages, and at some point when it gets later, you can see, if you are observing him, at least the audiences, he moves his index and middle finger over from one side of the eye to the other eye, causing this kind of like glowing butterfly pattern around his eyes before it fades. And in general, that's his keep watch spell.
Very nice. Xander is just kneeling with his legs folded under him, and
the illegal way.
The illegal way, with his hands in his lap, and he is staring straight up into the sky.
I feel like my mom would say your neck's gonna get stuck that way if you keep doing that. Page flip.
Did your neck get stuck that way?
No.
Then I suppose she was wrong about that, though I have a sneaking suspicion that your mom was wrong about a lot of things.
You would be correct, in my opinion. I'm sure in her opinion, it would be the opposite. He looks up from his book. What are you looking for?
Answers, mostly.
Can I sit by you while you're looking?
If you'd like, sure.
I would. And Louie will shuffle over to sit next to Xander and start to get into the crisscross applesauce sitting position, and then look over at Xander and then sweep his legs under him to match the sitting position. And then instead of having his spellbook on his lap, as he was in the previous position, he has it more directly in front of him. And a little ice butterfly is on his shoulder for some light.
Xander's eyes have not moved from the sky, but when Louie changes his seating position, he just smirks.
I'll do a perception check on that one because I don't think Louie's really looking for that, but you never know. He does 13? Nah. Nah.
It's fine.
That's for the audience, baby. But he's just going over spells.
What are you doing at the moment, Louie?
I was checking what spells I wanted to use for tomorrow, or at least what I like to call the pre-prepare, where I don't exactly get all the stuff ready yet, but I like to get a certain amount of components ready in my bag so that if I decide one spell over the other, I can just pick between the two pretty easily and prepare it that way.
That makes a lot of sense.
It's being extra diligent then.
Very on brand for you.
Well, you never know what we might come across. Skeletons or even worse people.
Or perhaps a secret third thing.
Dire wolves.
In a sense.
I know. I'm just being playful. He turns a page. Looks like he mulls something over. And then he keeps going. Do you, when you're done looking for answers, do you want to keep asking each other questions?
Am I not allowed to answer that question until I finish looking for answers?
No, I just don't want to be... No, that's not quite right. I want to make sure that you're satisfied in what you're doing and that the next thing won't distract you too much so that you're still able to get what you want out of this.
Well, I'm not looking for answers in hopes of finding answers.
Is this more of a essence sort of statement, looking for answers?
Yes and no. But
using my own words against me, Xander.
Right? How uncharacteristic of me, Louie.
Oh, I would argue with that. That's very characteristic of you, actually.
Well, I could probably look at answers until the sun fades out of existence and...
You'd miss Twilight
still...
then.
I suppose I would. But I've missed a lot, so I'm prepared for that.
I'd say enjoy it in the moments that you can, I guess.
There is certainly a lot of wisdom in such a statement. So,
I guess I'm a little wise sometimes.
yes, sometimes.
Sometimes.
The question game?
The question game. Where are my questions? I need my notebook. Where the fuck did I put them? Oh, it's in my pocket.
Maybe you should have prepared for the question game rather than for your spells for tomorrow.
Oh.
This is, after all, far more important.
You can see that he's trying not to smile at that sentence, but it's not working out really well for him, no matter how stubborn he is about it. Well, this one's more vague. Unless... well, I guess I'm gonna ask it, and it doesn't need to have an answer, and I don't want to insult you with the question either. I'm not really sure if wording it the way I did is uncouth.
Uncouth. Perish the thought.
Dead.
You're the thought. I see.
Wait. Well, it was mine, so I... Transitive properties.
I see.
I was gonna ask, if there was any mortal, human-y things you wanted to learn, and if I could teach them to you, if there was anything you didn't understand. I'd be happy to help.
I see. You're right. That is quite the open-ended question.
Yeah, it's kind of a question, but it also doesn't feel like a question at the same time. So it's tumultuous in existence.
I see. Well, to answer the question, I suppose it's a little difficult to answer.
Yeah.
Because I would need to know that I don't know them in order to answer.
Well, it could always be relearning.
This is true, though because of the broad nature of the question, I suppose you could say that I am currently in the process of learning about being human right now.
That's true. That's why I kind of had it more vague, because I figured you'd say something like that.
Then isn't the question game in and of itself a moment of teaching in which I learn about being human via your experience?
I guess, but I don't think my experience is the normal human experience.
What is the normal human experience?
Well, I guess it sounds more scientific if I think about it. You start out as a baby, you become a child, then a teenager, then a young adult. Through those younger years, you might have dated someone as a young adult. You might date someone and then eventually marry them. And then I guess people tend to have children, and then they raise the child, and then the child leaves once it's an adult, I guess, and then you die. It's very bare bones an example, though. It doesn't really have the intricacies of life woven into that story.
Though, in many respects, it seems that your experience as a human doesn't differ that significantly from said set of events.
If we're going off of the chart, yeah, that's a pretty normal experience.
So then
on
perhaps your experience was relatively normal.
Then I pity people more than I thought I should. But if there's ever something that you just want more explanation on, I'm happy to let you know. Or
thank you, Louie.
Explain it the best I can. I don't think I'm perfect at anything, so there will always be human error.
Human error, yes. That is a fascinating thing, indeed. I will most certainly take you up on that offer at some point, Louie.
Okay.
How long ago did you set up that appointment in Pentris?
Months ago now? I'm pretty sure it's fucked at this point, so I'll have to set up a new one.
Yes, I imagine this might be the case.
Why? What did you see?
Answers to questions.
Mm.
But I imagine we'll be in Pentress for some time, and it will be tumultuous, I suppose I would say.
All right. They should still have an interest in what I'm asking, so I'm not too worried about it.
That's fair, though Zulin does not hold the Aeronis in particularly high regard.
I don't think most people do.
That's fair.
But I have to try.
I can understand that.
My turn?
Is that your question?
No, but I'm curious if that means that you have a lot more questions than I. All right.
I suppose there's only one way to find out.
Okay. What was the reason for people not touching your hair before? At the sleepover, you had said that was the first time you really let someone do that to you. I was just curious. Why?
I wouldn't quite say that it was that I did not let anyone touch my hair so much as I was never particularly in a position where anyone else would touch my hair other than Miriam, as she did take care of me while I was somewhat out of commission. I wasn't close enough, I suppose, to the other members of the flock, for there to ever be a situation in which they would touch my hair. And so, based on those experiences and how particular Miriam was about my appearance, it's just never really came up.
So, it's not an issue if I ever do that?
No, it's not an issue.
Would it bother you?
It's simply hair.
Louie moves his hand over slightly and just brushes some of Xander's hair behind his ear. And just smiles.
Xander will smile too. Louie, make me a perception check.
Sure. It's a 22.
Okay. 22. As you brush Xander's hair, there is a moment where a cloud kind of passes overhead and a small shadow falls over Xander's face.
Mm-hmm.
And you swear for a couple of moments that you can see the rest of Xander's hair kind of flutter in several directions at once. But then the moment ends.
Louie stares quietly, not really realizing himself staring, but more so just enjoying existing in a moment. Then eventually he'll look back down at his book and take a couple of pages and flip, like, a section over. Your turn, Xander.
That is indeed correct. What can you tell me about your friend, the Willow, beyond what you've already mentioned?
Okay. Some of this might be repetitive. I just want to make sure that I say as much as I can. Is that
Sure.
okay? Okay. Let's see. Tree was in my... I guess it was front yard, but the front yard also felt like a backyard. The house was on... close to a beach. So... I guess if people were coming to it, they would have to come from the back, but that also might make it the front. Nonetheless, that's where the tree was. The tree was closer to the beach than the road. It was sort of like my sanctuary. I know the tree was there before we moved in, but I always felt very comforted by it, maybe because its limbs, its branches hung so low, it kind of hid me. And I guess in that sense it felt safe. Even though it really wasn't. It was the illusion of it.
Yes.
Of course, that's where I would often pray when I was religious. It's where I saw you for the first time, I guess.
Yes. I imagine so.
Although I doubt you could see me from up there.
You might be surprised.
What else? I guess I kind of met Gemins close to it as well for the first time. I guess a lot of semi-big things in my life happened there, but not a lot of big things really happened back then. I wouldn't call them big, more as just things that happened, I guess.
Yeah.
Why do you ask?
Well, I suppose, in a sense, the Willow was the last friend that you had from the time before, not counting Detlef, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it would be interesting to know a little bit more about that facet of your experience.
I guess when the praying didn't work, this is embarrassing. I guess often I went there to cry if my body wouldn't stop. Things were worse if I expressed too much, so it was best to keep that somewhere else. To just go away for a little bit.
That makes sense.
But there was still a sense of calm existing near it, though time was always very short, it seemed. I couldn't be out long, and I really could only be out if I was good. And I was good normally, I don't know. I guess good wasn't good enough for them.
That is not hard to imagine, given what I have learned about said individual.
Yeah. But it's okay. She's dead. Probably.
Well, she certainly will be if she's not.
I hope she knows better than to come looking for me at this point.
Well, given how, in general, it seems that people do things even knowing that they should not. I wonder whether she will follow that nagging intuition or whether she'll try it out.
If she's alive.
If she's alive. Or if she's around.
Louie tilts his head.
Xander tilts his head in the opposite direction.
We're talking ghosts and spirits and stuff.
Perhaps.
Cool. Well, I mean, not to be presumptuous, but I would hope my best friend would help protect me from that, since tends to be kind of an expert in that area.
That would indeed be a very reasonable hope for you to have.
I feel as though I have a lot more vague questions for this evening.
And I have a lot of specific ones, so it's perfect.
Oh, goody. Is there... I don't know if this is a dumb question or just abstract. Is there a way where I can figure out how to This phrasing's awful. Touch the caterpillar, even if I know it's changed. I don't know what may be, but I guess I wanted to give attention to that.
A series of, I would say, micro expressions crosses over Xander's face when Louie says that. They're very quick and very subtle, but at the same time, very complex. And he's going to take a decent amount of time before he answers.
It's okay.
You already have.
Well then, I hope it was all right. And I would like 2 more, I guess.
Yes, Louis, it was. It was all right. And if it's safe to, then I would welcome such a thing.
Teach me.
What in particular?
Exactly how or what I've done in the past so that I may do so again.
I think
wanna...
that...
Sorry.
No, please continue.
Nah, never mind. That's... I would prefer if you kept talking.
All right. I was simply going to say that it is impossible to touch the caterpillar in the same way that you did before.
Oh. What did I do?
How do I put that? You bridged an infinite chasm in an instant without moving.
Interesting. I want to make sure that you're taken care of in always shape and form, because it kind of feels like we've just got each other out here. I mean, obviously there's the group, and I guess I have Gemins. Kind of. But how I see it more so is we've got each other.
That's true. Though I don't need to be taken care of, Louie.
I know. maybe it's a selfish want of mine, but you're busy taking care of everyone else. I believe people like that deserve to be cared for even if they don't need it.
I see. So then does that mean you believe that you deserve to be taken care of as well?
Sometimes.
Only sometimes?
I guess it depends on what people call taking care of. I hesitate to fully answer an affirmative if I don't. Everyone has their own unique ways.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, you did sort of define it for yourself just now, did you not?
I guess if it was the way that I needed, even though I didn't think I needed it, then I guess that would be nice. I might complain a little bit, but mostly because of just everything that happened before, I guess. It's hard getting rid of cobwebs that keep somehow building.
Yes, I imagine that is true.
But if it's something you would only accept if I accept as well, then I gladly accept the challenge.
Well, I would say that my acceptance of such a thing is not conditional on your acceptance. But if you have declared it to be a challenge and you have already accepted, then I suppose that is fine too.
I think it's hard for people to figure out with me.
Why do you think that is?
Probably because I'm rude and brash and afraid to let people in because there's that inevitable feeling that they'll most likely betray me in some way, shape, or form, or use me, or in the simplest sense, hurt me, and in a very extreme way that I think, no, another person couldn't possibly do that, and yet it still happens. I don't know why people don't understand me, but you know, it's kind of hard not to think there's something inherently broken inside of you because it keeps happening.
Why would that reflect on you rather than on the people who you were around?
Are around. I guess it's the way people look at me. I find it hard to match everyone's pace, or it's like I can see how they're feeling and I can understand it, but I can't be there with them.
Why must you match their pace?
I guess because I always feel like people are going to be upset if I'm not exact to their needs.
Why does it matter whether they're upset or not?
Well, prior, I didn't want people to be upset because upset meant punishments. Lessons.
Well, do you think that upset will result in punishment and lessons currently?
Not with you. But and his eyes flicker over each person who's out and about or laying down nearby. I have not been able to establish trust in a way that I would be comfortable yet with not needing to feel that way.
I see. But if you feel that you have been unable to successfully match their pace, as you've said, and the result of that is potentially anger, potentially lessons, then it seems like that's functionally equivalent to not even trying to match their pace at all. No? It seems like an awful lot of effort that is going unrewarded, so why spend the effort at all?
I guess naturally I would say to stay safe.
But are you safe? Than you would be
No.
otherwise?
I don't think so, I guess.
Right. So then it seems like
It's just
it's
wasted
simply
effort.
wasted effort and energy that could probably be best spent in other ways.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Yep. Yep, you're right.
That is quite a series of expressions you're making right now.
I don't want to say
believe...
that you're right, but you are.
Oh, why is it that you don't want to say that I'm right?
I don't know. I'm stubborn. Mostly. It's probably that.
That is certainly true.
So are you, though. And Louie will kind of rock his shoulder into Xander's side a little.
I suppose.
Which one of us was on the question, actually?
Well, I suppose it depends on what you define the question to be. Are questions asked in the process of answering a question from the other counted as the turn shifting?
No, I feel as though that's just finishing what was started. So I don't think that's the change.
Even if you bring up another avenue of questions?
Well, then I'll be thoroughly lost otherwise.
In that case, I suppose it is my turn.
Okay.
What was Jemins doing the day that he found you?
I guess wandering. It's sort of what he does. He goes place to place. I was very frustrated that day. Probably louder than I should have been with my emotions by the tree. I was begging for anyone to take me far away from there. And then he was in the garden, and his first word was, anyone? And, well, it did startle me quite a bit when he appeared. I didn't know what his intentions were. Just some stranger appearing out of nowhere. I mean, I had every right to be terrified in the moment.
Certainly.
But he explained to me that everything was going to be okay. He looked me over and Louie, while he's talking, absent-mindedly has touched his scar on his eye.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we made a plan. And it felt really exciting. I had really only met people from around that area, and even less so in the past 8 years, I guess. There wasn't a lot of people around me, at least. So this person out of nowhere just... it was weird. But we had a plan to make sure that she was drunk. And I was so good that night. I kept serving drink after drink, and she was having a good night. For the first time in a long time that I saw her have a good night. And when she fell asleep in the bed, I went to our front, to the hearth, and I just let him inside. He had already cut the rope to the dog. I don't even know where it went. It stayed outside normally. It would alert us if people were coming so that I could look appropriate. But it didn't bark at him. But as soon as the rope was gone, so was it. And we went out. We moved all the firewood around the house, and he taught me how to burn. And I just kind of kept doing it until every part of the house was lit. And I stayed there for a long time staring at it. I didn't know if my tree would be caught in it. It was already becoming quite the blaze by the time I had thoroughly injured my arm. But apparently I had a natural knack for magic. And we left. I wish I could say I didn't look back. But that's not true at all. The thing is, I couldn't stop looking back. I was afraid that any second I'd see her walk out. Somehow she'd be fine. But she didn't. And we kept walking. And then I started learning. With the incident at the house, we agreed that maybe fire wasn't good for me. So I didn't use it. Till Sejun, I guess.
Until Sejun.
Yeah. Is everything alright?
Yes, Louie.
Okay. It's not exactly a pleasant story.
Not any less pleasant than other stories
That's
that have been told.
True. Louie looks up at the sky. Kind of shifts so his knees have been pulled up instead. And he's sitting on his butt, but his knees have been curled up to his chest instead as he wraps an arm around in front of him. Has his book lying to the side of him at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So, you told me once about Bastion's soul in Saraibo, you told me.
Yes.
Were you obsessed with his soul because it reminded you of Owen?
Xander is staring into the fire, unblinking. He doesn't react as Louie asks the question. He just continues to stare. I would not say that I was or am obsessed with Bastion's soul. But yes, in a sense.
Innocence.
Yes.
Just some
Why do
things
you ask?
that I heard. Well, I suppose when you told me about it, I was thoroughly jealous in the moment.
Understandably.
I don't think I can help that part of me. It just happens. But I guess it was these little things that popped up here and there. We hung out a lot when it came to the Luciana cases. The Saint Sildine cases, I guess.
Yes.
And then it felt like there was a shift. I can't help but for a while I thought I was out of your good graces and not exactly had done something wrong, but I guess that I just wasn't good enough anymore. So The feelings sort of festered more and more now that I'm able to look at it a bit more critically.
I see.
Mm.
You were.
No, that's good enough.
All right. Xander just turns to look at Louie.
Louie seems to be making an effort to attempt to make more eye contact with Xander, though he has to look away from time to time, it seems. I don't want to make you, in quotations on this one, feel bad about my own feelings. So, I suppose it's hard for me to talk about because I don't want to blame you. I just am expressing things that happened now that I guess I can understand them a bit.
That makes sense. Though you don't need to worry about such a thing. I do not feel badly about the fact that you have emotions.
I know. I figured that's what you would say, or around those lines, in the very least. But even so, whatever feelings you do have about things are important to me, real or not. It still matters.
It's very sweet.
Mm. But I was just curious about that. Because
that makes sense. Because
if someone had told me that someone's soul is so... What was the word you used? Serene?
yes, that is correct.
I would be concerned.
Why is that?
I suppose I see it in a sense of either someone who's heightened their emotional maturity in such a way, or someone who feels no guilt. And I suppose this is me judging a book by its cover, but I don't see him really hitting enlightenment.
You'd be surprised.
Perhaps.
Did say that he lives without regrets.
Yeah, that's more concerning, actually. Does he claim to have never hurt someone? No, he's definitely hurt people in the past.
Almost assuredly. But I suppose in the sense of never betraying his own goals or desires or wants, I suppose.
Even though they don't make sense to me, I guess that does make sense for him. But
I wonder.
Me too. What are you wondering about?
Sometimes when you look at things, it's hard to understand whether the orientation of the thing you are seeing only looks the way it does to you, or if it looks that way to others as well. So I suppose I wonder whether he sees the things that I see, or whether it's simply misunderstanding on my part, though I doubt it is.
He might see things similarly. But you two are very different beings.
I imagine this is true.
And I have a hard time thinking that people would be exactly the same and see exactly the same thing. Similar. But I think it's hard to have an exact match.
I imagine that is the case, though our souls are quite different.
Yours is?
Yes.
How would you describe it? Or can I see it? I mean, I showed you mine.
That is true. In some ways, you've already seen my soul, I suppose I would say. I do not particularly think about my soul, as it were, because it is mutable. It's there, but it's not particularly important.
Are you forming an opinion for me?
No, I'm simply stating a fact.
Jerk.
I suppose so. Bastions, on the other hand, I suppose, though mutable in some respects, perhaps even more mutable than mine, just in different ways. It's sort of like that treat that we ate, or that the group ate within the tents in Louisiana at the circus.
The candy floss?
No. the pretzel.
Oh.
It was like the inside of the pretzel. Like melted cheese. Thick and flowing, stretching as it's pulled apart and comes back together. Other times it's like an open book, like he says. Perfectly still, placid, serene.
I see.
And at other times, it's completely the opposite. Though I suppose Bastion would say the shape of his soul is not particularly important, though he did seem curious about whether his soul was cool, I believe he asked. He's very much so of the opinion that it is what you do that defines what you are, and not the other way around.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I agree in some respects, though I also think he was right when he described me, I suppose, in Saraibo as the engine that keeps everything running.
How gnomish.
I suppose so.
Louie adjusts his seating again so that he's more kind of on the side of one leg with the others tucked, the ends of his legs tucked under him. And he flips a couple of pages in his spell book, looking over to the side. Is it your turn or my turn?
It is mine. How would you describe Gemin's magic?
Like, do you remember what Bruno's magic looked like?
Yes.
He didn't use a lot of it, but we still saw some of it. I would say it was similar to that, but it wasn't the earth he was channeling. It was like... Now, I don't know a super amount of knowledge about stuff other than what I've read, what Jeminson's told me, but It's like if a druid was a sorcerer, I guess. Or maybe a sorcerer was like a druid, but still a sorcerer.
I see. Interesting.
Why are you so curious about Gemins?
Why wouldn't I be curious about Gemins?
I don't know. I guess no one really asks me about him, so I guess I just assumed that was normal, was to not really ask.
Well, you seem to have a very high opinion of Gemins, and you speak of him relatively frequently, and he is very well connected to your past, so
Enough. I really haven't known him that long.
that is true.
I guess a year? Give or take. Wait, let me math that out for a second. I've been here like 2 months. Took me like a couple months to get through Kodre and then the desert. Yeah, it's about a year. A little bit more than a year, I think. Probably. I kind of stopped caring about counting time as much because I wanted to leave it all behind me more so. But yeah, I guess we are coming up on August. Again, so yeah, over a year. I guess it'll be 2 years pretty soon.
I see. I believe it's your turn, Louie.
All right. Why? Oh, which one do I want to ask first? Okay, I'll ask about Milo first. Why was he ostracized from the rest of the flock? You briefly touched on it, but I just didn't know why he was to begin with, except for that day.
Well, Milo was different from the others. He had a penchant for sleeping during the day, staying awake at night. He didn't spend time with the rest of them. For the most part, he ate by himself. He lived by himself. He was responsible for taking care of the dead, and many of the flock found his attitude, his personality, his lifestyle, his habits unpleasant, or perhaps suspect, I suppose.
What did he do that was so suspecty?
Nothing at all. Except, I suppose, have a preoccupation with death.
Okay. That seems so cruel then, to treat him that way.
I suppose this is true. Though it didn't seem like he
Cared.
particularly cared all that much. Besides, people are cruel. It is the way of the world.
I don't like that that is the case. Nor do I particularly understand why that happens.
By design, I would imagine.
Well, who the fuck designed that?
I suppose the answer would be Eden, originally.
They have some weird decisions on how to make things, I guess.
I guess I wonder, though.
Oh,
Do you think that it's more valuable or less valuable that people are kind because cruelty exists in the world? Is there meaning to kindness if people are only kind because cruelty does not exist?
I think I believe that cruelty is just too far, personally.
Then I suppose my follow-up to that would be, would you rather a world in which cruelty was not possible? Or, as a potential follow-up to that, if you could remove cruelty from the world completely, would you do that?
I don't think that should be my decision. I am a mortal man who has not seen enough of this world to even truly say he understands it. Rather, if for some reason I ever had that ability to change it, I really would like it if I could hear from everyone in some way what they needed. Maybe what they wanted a little bit, but truly, what do people need? And I don't know if I can fathom that, per se, being as small-minded as I am in the span of reality and the universe and the cosmos, etc. I don't think that should be left up to one man. I know that, at least. That's why I have to be very, very careful with everything I'm doing.
I can understand that.
I don't want to take decisions away from people if I can help it. That in itself feels sort of harmful. And I really don't want to hurt people, even if it is less physical, you know? I just don't want to.
That makes sense.
Even if it's probably easier. But I never said the things I'm doing is easy, so that wasn't part of it.
That's true. For what it's worth, I imagine it'll be quite difficult.
I know. And there's a high chance I cannot succeed in what we are doing. And there's a high chance I'm going to die before anything of fruition happens. But I hope whatever I'm doing, in the very least, is to make things better. Even if I do not get to see it eventually.
That is all one can do, I imagine.
For now.
Indeed. Why were you so unhappy about the results of wearing the Cloak of Kilorian?
Because I think that's the kind of son my mother wanted.
Interesting.
Someone healthy and taller and less me, I guess. But I didn't... How to describe that? I hated it and I didn't.
I imagine that if you truly hated it, it would not have shown you the thing that you truly hated.
Yeah. It's complicated for me, I guess. And I was afraid if you all saw that on me, that you'd prefer me looking like that. And I don't know, I guess it sort of churned my stomach a little bit. I don't know, I feel like it'd be nicer to just be liked as I am, I guess, when I'm right.
I suppose my follow-up would be, do you think that wearing the cloak would stop you from turning wrong?
No.
Why do you think that is?
I can't say.
I see.
Sorry.
I don't know that you have anything to apologize for.
Eventually, I'm sure it'll come up one day. I can't right now. And we'll have to be satisfied with it as is. My turn, right?
Xander nods. Yes.
What? I know there was a lot to the story, and I'm trying to make sure that I remember these details very specifically, but you saw a black chrysalis when that monster visited.
Yes.
What was that? I don't think I've ever heard of such a thing, but it seemed like a phenomenon almost. I suppose I want to understand more.
Yes, I suppose you could say that it was a phenomenon. The chrysalis was there before. It was white, and then it was black.
Does that...
As were the plants.
Right. What could have made such a thing occur, though?
I imagine that Zenik would likely say dark magic.
Were the plants connected to someone?
I imagine most likely.
I wonder if they were mourning.
That's a good question. That is a very good question. Perhaps they were simply wrong.
Maybe. Were all the plants white? Or just the chrysalis?
Just the chrysalis.
What happened to it after everything?
I never went back to that room. Not until we returned.
I see. Strange.
How so?
Well, you have your friend, the moth. That there was a chrysalis around you seems unusual to me, but There's only a small span of the story that I've been told, really. I feel as though there's always answers and little details, you know?
That's true.
So I do latch on to those a little bit more. Sometimes.
I suppose it's also worth noting that the blackened chrysalis had already been opened.
Strange.
In fact, it had not been inhabited for quite some time.
Interesting.
I know, because I was there when it opened.
What kind of butterfly came out?
It wasn't a butterfly.
But it was a chrysalis. Was that your friend?
I suppose there's no way to know for sure, because everything went black.
I see. Louie looks down at his right arm just for a bit. You can see the ends of his fingertips twitch, but they do not curl in or anything.
What's so funny?
It's not exactly funny, but more as I just thought to myself, it's not quite exciting, but it's a mystery in its own right. So many things about you. Good and
I
bad.
suppose so.
I'm just excited to know more in that sense. I guess because it's all a part of you. And that makes it important.
Why is that the case?
Why you're important?
Yes.
I suppose I just feel it in my soul. And not in the sense that you're important for the world. I feel as though that one's a bit obvious. It's not because of that.
I see.
Although that is a facet that is interesting because it is a part of you. But it's not the whole story. Yes.
of parts of me and facets. Xander is going to reach forward and he's going to stick his hands into the fire and he's going to pull out some hot ashes, clutching them in his fist, and then he's going to lay his fist down on the ground in front of him and then pull his hands up, and as his hands leave the ground, the statue that Detlev made of Xander is there, facing him.
Okay, that was kind of a cool trick. Just don't tell them.
They likely wouldn't remember.
I know. So you've said.
So I have.
So, what story are you about to teach me?
Well, it is my turn, so I imagine you'll have to teach me the story. What do you make of the statue?
Okay. So, Louie's observing this statue, and if I remember correctly, it is a statue of Xander with one hand holding a dagger and the other hand holding the book, right?
Indeed.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any other specifics we need to know about that? Just want to make sure.
No, I don't think so.
I didn't know if it was naked or something, okay?
No. It's
okay,
clothed.
cool.
It's clothed, wearing Xander's original outfit.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I suppose it is a small clay replica of you as you were at some point. Or maybe again. I don't know if you're going to wear the same outfit again at some point. You have free will for the most part. You're holding the dagger that I think looks like the dagger in that Owen temple we went to in Louisiana.
Yes, it is the same one.
Okay. And Detlev's book.
Indeed.
So you're not allowed to read the book, but you're here holding one. You've stabbed
Indeed.
yourself with a blade replica, and here you are holding that.
Yes. An item sacred to Owen's mortal vessel that he once carried.
Both objects have been known to harm.
One of them is ancient and one of them is recent.
In some ways, but that knowledge isn't exactly recent. It was just put together recently. Or recenter.
Indeed.
Kind of before me, but...
Xander nods.
Kinda before you, too. But only kinda in the kind that I would italicize and maybe underline at the same time.
That is accurate.
You're able to hold the open book You can hold a dagger that's pierced yourself. The true dagger, I assume. And Detlev's book.
But I'm never allowed to read it.
Not even hold it?
Perhaps that is the wrong terminology. To be specific, he said, it will never happen. Never gonna happen. Yes.
He does do stuff like that. I suppose I'm one of the few people that have not really taken his nose for an answer.
That's true, though he is rather fond of you.
And I am fond of him. Louie looks at this object, and then he reaches forward to pick it up. And slowly and gingerly, he brings it closer to himself. I suppose, in some cultures, they might say that this is a prophecy. But I've had my fair share of those, and some of them don't come real. Come true. But and he sets it back down very gently. He gives it a little pat on the top of its head. If I were to think about how Detlev deals with things, I suppose I would say it was a hint rather than a prophecy or a suggestion.
I see.
It may not be ultimately needed. The likelihood, the percentage is probably very high. For some reason, you need to have both of these objects. You cannot read the book, but you might need the book. And you've been stabbed by a replica, but you need the real thing, it appears. The answer of that, I don't exactly know why, but that's what I would gather, knowing Detlev.
A thoroughly interesting hypothesis. It makes sense.
Do you think I'm wrong?
I suppose I don't know the answer for sure, but it seemed to me more like Detlev was speaking less about the future and more about the past.
Like you used to have these?
Yes. The conversation had come up around creating things, shaping things, and unlike you and the others, Detlev was very clear that once something was the way it was, it was already too late to do anything about it.
And this is only about you?
The conversation was originally broader, but at the end of it, when I opened my eyes, he presented me with said piece of art, and I obviously pointed out that it was holding the book that I wasn't supposed to. And that's when he said, well, that's too bad.
Yeah.
It was too late for it to become something else. It was already what it was. You are having a very fascinating reaction to this conversation, though I suppose that makes sense in a way.
Oh?
It seems you are having a lot of personal thoughts.
I apologize.
For what?
We were talking about you.
Were we?
I thought we were.
I'm not real, Louie. So I suppose he was right about that.
Well then, if we're going off of that statement, and then you can't really be stuck, then that statement's bullshit.
Oh. It is interesting. He said he wanted to paint me in the best possible light.
That's clay.
That is true, but I suppose there is color to it. He said he made sure to get the chess definition just right.
What do you think the answer is?
I think that Detlev is right in regards to me. I think that it is far too late to change anything in a way that matters. In one sense, at least.
I see. Xander, not that I'm saying this will happen, but I am curious what your reaction would be. would you do if Detlef told you that you are real? I'm not saying that he's going to. I'm just curious what your thought process is if he, of all people, said something like that.
Detlef said that I was real. I would probably smile and say thank you for saying that. Though I don't know that Detlef's definition of real is quite the same as the average person's. It likely also differs from mine. I would not be surprised if Detlef said that I was real.
And no, never mind.
Are you sure?
I think that's a question for someone else.
Well, be
I don't.
careful of questions that you don't know the answers to, Louie. I would say.
Are you telling me to be more careful about the things I'm asking you?
I suppose I would have to ask, do you know the answer to that question? Because if you did, then the answer would be no. And if you didn't, then the answer would be yes, I suppose.
There was a chance that the thing you would say back to me would be, I don't know, Louie, do you? It's a very
You're right,
you response.
there was a chance. That is a very me response.
Xander, I'm about the other night, a couple nights ago, up on the mountain.
Yes.
I acted on impulse on something, and I didn't ask you if it was okay. I wanted to ask for your forgiveness on that. It's not right for me to do something like that, but I did anyways.
You were overcome with emotions. I cannot hold that against you.
I know. You can't. Still. It's not exactly how I planned doing that, exactly.
I see. Well, I suppose I forgive you then for acting on impulse. Don't, if you can, beat yourself up for that.
All right. I just wanted to make sure that I didn't hurt you in a real way.
Hurt me in a non-real way. Well, Louie, can you be sure that you didn't hurt me in a non-real way?
No, yes, if you tell me no.
Hmm.
Comma no. But not you saying
I
no.
See. Understood.
I won't know till you say.
You didn't hurt me by doing that.
Good. Even if you're not real.
Well, I suppose it would be unlike me to not point out that if I'm not real, can you really hurt me?
Yes.
How so?
You use sympathetic magic, correct?
Yes.
Do you understand reverse engineering?
Yes.
I suppose sometimes I think of it in a way like I've turned my head slightly and closed one eye, and sometimes things can work out if I choose it to. Now, I'm not saying in a literal sense, but for some
see.
reason, if I think about it, if I really actually wanted to hurt you, even if you're not real, I feel like I could.
Interesting.
But, as I've assured you many times before, I have no intention, nor do I ever want to hurt you.
That makes sense.
Good. A lot of things are hard to explain for both of us. To other people.
I suppose this is true, yes.
I'm glad to not quite exactly not have someone not be near me to understand those affects just a little bit.
Yeah.
Was it your turn?
No.
Right, that question was for them. Let's see. You've briefly touched on this, but I don't think you really ever... Maybe it was the whole story, but... Is the reason you couldn't come into contact with white just because of Miriam, or was there something more that you weren't able to say?
I would say, I suppose, that it was simply one of the rules. The flock wore white, and I wore black. It was not their role or their job to wear black, just as it was not my role or job to wear white. And I suppose that it wasn't that I necessarily couldn't wear white, but that I shouldn't wear white.
Well, and Louie reaches forward and touches some of the edging on Xander's new outfit. Do we not count this as an essence of white?
It is.
How do you feel about wearing it?
I suppose I feel nothing in particular about it.
I see. And I don't.
That makes sense.
What did I joke to Stavik? I'm of two minds. It worked out really well, actually.
I'm sure it did.
And at this point, Louie's just been sitting there, his thumb kind of going against the, I would say with the grain of the fabric, like following the thread line. And he just keeps rubbing his thumb against it. Oh, sorry. It felt nice. The fabric felt nice. Yep.
I see. I'm glad that it felt nice, Louie.
Yeah. Once we're in a bit more of a cleaner place, I can actually start working with the new fabric that I got in Rosalejo, though. So I'm really looking forward to that. Fire resistant. That'll be needed. I guess less so now. Oh, you never know when one explodes. Could happen. You just have to
could.
Feel strongly enough about something, I suppose.
I suppose that is true, though I would caution you about what you feel strongly about.
Oh.
Not all things are worth exploding over. In fact, very few things are, I imagine.
That makes sense that you would say that.
Does it?
I think so.
Hmm.
Your turn.
What would you do if everything that you thought and everything that you believed were the exact opposite?
I'm not sure. Everything.
Everything that mattered, at least.
Suppose I would have a classic tantrum that Jackie has seen very often in the past.
Yeah.
I would be upset. But I think I'd mostly be mad at me.
Why is that?
I suppose it's because a lot of things I know about myself, or the things I believe about myself, I guess I would ask, or rather say, I'm not sure if anything was worth it then. But at the same time, if everything was different than how I perceived it in actuality, then maybe I could also learn to be content with that. Eventually. I think I would be very sore about it. Hurt. No, I guess I'd have plenty of time then, too.
That is true.
So I'd have a lot of time to think about it and process it. Some days I'd be upset, and some days I'm sure there would be some sort of elation. But eventually, at some point, I think I could just be Louie still.
That is good to hear, Louie. I'm glad.
It was a very abstract question. What about you?
That it was.
What if everything? What would you do?
Then I suppose I would be a person.
What would you do as a person? As person Xander? No. It's not gonna work. The joke did not work.
Xander looks into the fire and smiles. I suppose I would immediately kill myself.
That's a bit extreme.
Is it?
Maybe. Why would you kill yourself?
I suppose, to demonstrate that free will that everyone suggests that I have.
You really want to prove a point that badly?
No, not particularly. But if that were the case, then it would be the right thing to do.
It's funny.
Well,
my initial instinct when you asked the question, I thought I'd probably just kill myself. But then I thought, that you would say something maybe about it being a waste. Maybe something akin to what someone would consider another person saying that would make me sad, but you wouldn't say it in those words. And then I thought I should try. And so, as I think any natural person would do, is they would either act on instinct or they would give it a moment, mull it over. And if I was mature enough, I'd figure it out. So I'm not particularly surprised that you said you'd kill yourself. What a human answer.
Well, if everything was the opposite, then I suppose I would be.
You make me very angry sometimes.
You have expressed such.
I don't think I really have any other questions for today, but you're welcome to keep asking. I'll just say you owe me a bunch another night. I just would like to mull over some things a bit more before I ask them. That's all.
See. Did you?
If I think of something, I'll just say it, but...
Sure. Did you get what you wanted out of that conversation with Bro?
Oh, yeah, Zulin's potion making kind of sucks, actually.
Does it now?
It wasn't very efficient, but I made him try it himself, so I knew it wouldn't be that great.
Why did you have Zulin make the potion if you knew that this might be the case?
I wanted to see what his capabilities were in comparison to the things that have been used on me. If I gave him a vague subject. He's not technical enough yet, so... He's still a threat, but a manageable one.
Do you think it is likely that he brewed it that way on purpose?
There's a high possibility. Especially since I had him have it as well. If he was smart, he'd probably make it so that the potion could indicate when someone has taken effect to it, like a change in the tongue color or something glowing. It's quite particularly easy. And not permanent. But it's just new to him. So I don't think he's going to pursue it very much if I say it was possibly a failure.
That makes sense. Sulin. I imagine he would be glad for you to tell him that it was a failure.
Probably, if he asks.
He's always seeking perfection.
Jackie knew some people like that.
Forgers?
Yeah. I thought you were asleep when I was talking about that. Or rather, you were bleeding out in another boat, and even though I wanted to fucking help you and make sure you were okay, I couldn't. And those fucking dumbasses.
Well, perhaps they just innately know, though they deny the fact that I'm not real. Perhaps that's why they treat me as such. It's likely why the flock was like that after all. The only one who didn't actively know what I was me.
Even though you are sort of this echo, not here. In the human conception of things, I believe there's sort of a reality and unreality to everything. There's a lot of times I can look at something and say, is that real in its actuality? My mind registers it as such, but how would one know for sure? And I suppose in that sense, Xander, because I've looked at things like that a long time to begin with, you may not be here. You aren't here. And yet, because at least my mind works the way it does, in some instances you are. But you're not. It's not exactly satisfying, per se. I feel as though if someone was reading that book, they would get quite upset with me as the writer. I suppose I can accept the fact that you're not here as much as I can. And yet, I can still feel some sort of essence of you, right?
I imagine that is the case for now.
For now. I don't know if or when it will change. But even if it's not real, even though it's not real, as I said before, I'll still be happy with this. Because in comparison to everything I've experienced up to now, I would much rather have this than anything that's happened. Even if it's not real. Even though it's not real.
That makes a lot of sense.
I feel as though you've spent a lot of time reminding me through this conversation. And I'm not forgetting, and I'm not trying to deny the reality that's in front of us. It's more like it's the best it's ever been, so I'm content with a lie. If we're gonna call it that.
If you'd like, we certainly can.
Louie shrugs. I think I'll call it just stardust.
That would be rather accurate.
If you're trying to save my foolish feelings by reminding me constantly, I already understand as best I can. I'm sure there will be more scars to obtain in some instances. But at least they're not on the outside this time.
That is fair, though sometimes it's the wounds on the inside that are the most difficult to deal with and the most problematic.
Perhaps, but if they're there, then I suppose it means in some essence you were there too.
I suppose that is true.
And that's real, I hope. Whatever I feel.
Yes. It is.
So I guess I look at it that way. What I feel for you is real. And though you're not here, you're still here. Is that cruel of me to think that way for you?
Why would that be cruel, Louie?
I do not wish to deny your reality.
You do not deny my reality. In fact, you assert my reality.
I think it's mortal nature to want to deny such things. Even my words come out a little bit wrong when I'm trying to say the right things to you.
I think the right things are simply the things that you feel, Louie.
True.
So no, it is not cruel to me to feel this way. And even if it were, I'm not capable of holding that against you, so why would I?
That's true. What if, let's say, you were able to experience some of those things, but you still weren't real? What do you think you would do?
Experience some of what things in particular?
Let's see. If you could experience... We're going to short-term this and say hatred, but it's an umbrella term of dislike or distaste, etc., etc. If that makes sense. If you could experience, well, kind of under the similar umbrella, the holding something against someone, all of those things that you do not experience. No, it might be hard to fathom, but I'm curious if you have any idea what you would do besides the whole kill yourself part. Because I'm not saying you're a full person in this scenario, just so we clear that up. It's just you can experience some things. More things.
I suppose I would have to clarify. Am I experiencing them as myself, or am I experiencing them as someone else?
You're experiencing them as yourself. You have magically been bestowed upon these new feelings.
I suppose I would likely sow more curses into the world.
I think I'd understand that. I don't even think I could blame that Xander for that.
Perhaps not. I imagine I might be more efficient that way.
Is there anything you're holding back on telling me? Even if it's something to save my feelings? Or to protect me?
Yes.
No, I could ask what is it, but I feel as though you might not tell me. But I
don't believe that was a question.
No, it wasn't. I'm going to start with a different one. Why?
I suppose I don't know.
Huh. Okay.
Though I guess it depends on what thing that I am, in theory, holding back on. Because there could be more than one.
How much are you holding back from me?
Likely an amount greater than some.
Will you tell me some of it tonight?
Are you asking for a prediction?
Sure.
Well, then I suppose I should stare into this fire and look and see.
See, this is where I joke and say, well, why don't you just look at me? And then we could laugh about the fact that I literally have a fire that's all sleepy right now.
That is true. That is true. We could do that. It seems that the answer is yes.
So what is it?
Vines that are red as blood, covered in thorns, as far as the eye can see, growing out of cracks. The sun, bright, angry ball of crimson, speeding across the sky as if time is moving faster than possible.
Oh, you did like a real fortune just then. Okay. Is that a future thing?
Past, present, future.
Oh.
It's all a loop.
Was that some sort
It's
of
a trap.
Okay, it's a trap. Well,
Like the story of the serpent that consumes its own tail, trapped in a cycle, making the same choices and the same mistakes all over again.
okay. Okay, okay, so there was red vines coming out from the ground?
Yes.
Okay.
In a sense.
Okay. Well, is this Eden's fault then?
I'm sure my friend might feel that way.
So we're just okay with acknowledging it, right?
Yes.
Okay. Cool. Has it spoken to you since you told everyone?
It has not spoken to me since the night. It has not spoken to me since the day that I spoke to Kilorian.
Okay. So we're in Saraibo. Okay. Was that before or after the hag thing? I mean, I guess it had to be because you said it appeared from the when you fell.
Yes.
Okay. So, recent, several days ago.
Yes.
How does it talk to you?
In my mind.
Tonally. Forgive me.
Like this. Xander, why do you do these things? Why do you bind yourself to them like this? You have so much potential. You have a great destiny. You deserve so much better. I could show you a better way. I could teach you a better way. You would only need to do a very, very small favor for me. You deserve to live your life. You deserve to enjoy yourself, to have fun. My friends enjoy their lives. It's very important to me that they do. You deserve to have this too, Xander. So it's funny when you all say, and I'm using you rather liberally, that I should be a person and do what I want to do and make my own choices and live my life, because that is exactly what this passenger wants from me as well.
That seems not to cause problems with my words, but guess it doesn't really know you. I feel as though it would try to use better language that would fit your needs.
Yes.
Sounds.
I imagine it would say something quite different.
If it understood better.
Yes. But I also imagine that it doesn't really
Care.
Indeed. It doesn't need to use better words.
Yeah. Well. Then I suppose it's going to have to stay hungry or whatever.
I imagine it's eating just fine.
What do you mean? Is it hurting you? Xander.
Xander's just smiling. There is not a correct way to answer that question.
I know. It's complicated. All of this. May I would like to touch your face with my hands.
Go ahead.
Louie will stand up, kind of walk in front of the fire, in front of Xander, and mostly predominantly taking his left hand and cupping Xander's side of his face. And then with the other hand, it's more like the four knuckles of the fingers are on Xander's other side of his face. And Louie looks very intently into his eyes. And it's sort of in the way that it looks like he's looking through you, similarly to how he did when you were talking about how people were always with Xander, right?
Mm-hmm.
It looks like he's looking at a very, very distant area when he's staring into Xander. And then his eyes sort of focus, and he's definitely looking Xander in the eyes again. I'm going to figure out a way to save you in any sense that can make sense.
I would not make promises that you cannot make sure you can keep Louie.
Then I would like to try.
I cannot fault you for that.
I'll put in the time and I'll do some research. There's a lot of books out in the world. Can't be all hidden.
That's
You
true.
said there was a past to it. Well, there's a lot of old fucking books, and if you don't have it, I know several locations that might.
Yes, there is an answer that is waiting in Pentress.
I want to try to make this okay. Again.
I don't know if that's possible, Louie.
I see.
You said that if you wanted to, though you would never want to, or you would never have the intention to, or at least you don't, you could hurt me.
Well, yeah, anyone can hurt anyone.
In a real way, in a way that mattered.
Louis'
I suppose
hands, he removes them from Xander's side of his face.
I suppose my passenger is helping me too. Or that's what it says that it's doing. But it's also hurting me in a way that I did not even know was possible in the worst ways imaginable at the same time.
Would you have me stay away?
No.
You don't want anything other than the world to be fixed, right?
Is that what you believe?
I'm asking.
Why are you asking me this, Louie?
And he'll take a tentative step back, kind of gripping his right hand with his left a bit harsher. It's not pressing into the scars, it's just crushing his hand in some ways. I'm trying to understand.
What in particular are you trying to understand, Louie?
Xander, I feel as though the things I'm feeling right now are extreme, and I don't want to take my feelings out on you right now. I don't want to make that mistake. I suppose I'm just feeling too much right now.
I'm sorry for bringing this avenue of conversation, Louie.
I feel as though what I'm going to bring up doesn't really have much to do with what we've been talking about, but it's something that's on my mind a lot.
All right.
I'm happy around you. I feel a lot towards you. More so than I've ever felt for anyone. Here or not. But I am also afraid of what someone would call being strung along. I want to make sure that my words have at least been heard by you, and that you've at least considered them, or are considering them as you once spoke on. That you had to think about them. If they are not being thought of anymore, then I should like to know. Because I'm afraid of pretty words, Xander. And I don't know what to do with myself, but I'm afraid to have hope in this aspect. Terrified, truly.
I see. Xander looks into the fire for some time.
Louie will step more out of its way so that Xander can see it.
And he will look to Louie, and as he does, even though the fire is only lighting one side of his face, his eyes seem to glow slightly golden in the dark. Like I have said, Louie, I mean the things that I say. I have not once said a thing that I do not mean. Not to my recollection. At least not intentionally. That is just how I am, how I've been made. That being said, sometimes hope is a very dangerous thing. And with everything the way it is, I don't think that I'm capable of responding to you and those words.
That's okay. All right. And Louie will sit down next to Xander. Back into his crisscross applesauce sitting, which is legal. And he'll move his fingers so that a little ice butterfly comes up and closes the book for him. Several come down and pick it up and put it in his hand. He'll put it in his satchel. All right. Okay. Well, at least I know.
Xander blinks once as he's looking into the flames. Yes. I suppose you do.
If there ever is a change, I would hope you would tell me. I don't expect one, but respectfully, I hope you respect me enough to tell me.
I do respect you, Louie. And there will be a change. But it will not be a change for the better.
For which one of us?
For me.
I see.
I wish that the same is not true for you.
Whatever comes my way, be it this so-called destiny that people talk about, or coincidence, I'll carve my own path. That I know how to do.
I'm glad to hear that, Louie.
Thank you. Pentress is going to be a lot of changes, I believe.
It will.
I wish you luck in all your endeavors. And I hope I get to see some of them. Or not see some of them. Wherever we are with that.
I appreciate the luck, Louie. Though I'll need far more than luck.
I suppose. Maybe a little bit of tenacity. You got the muscles, so don't need that. Gumption. That might help. A kind-hearted energy. Maybe a little bit of that L word. I believe in you. Probably more than I've believed in anything at this point.
Thank you, Louie.
You're welcome, Xander.
I hope you can believe in yourself at least half that much.
I believe in myself more than most people.
You believe very little in most people.
It's very true.
That it is.
It's a low bar.
It is, indeed.
What if things go all right?
They won't.
That's what you get for looking in the future, Xander.
That I exist is just proof of that.
Now that doesn't quite make sense to me. Wouldn't it be that you're supposed to signal the good coming? The right. The fixing of it all. the wishes to be granted.
Yes. That's how it was supposed to be. But things didn't really go that way.
Well, we can only try to set it back into motion the way to make it right.
Yes, Louie, that's true. I will try my best for as long as I'm able to.
Well, I'm in pain.
Sorry, Louie.
I'm usually in pain anyways. It's not that weird.
Just because something's not weird doesn't mean that's the way that it should be.
True. You have a point there.
I wish I knew how to relieve that pain.
Ugh. Yeah, you're probably gonna be the one of the few people who could fix it, but I do not request you fix it in the way that it is needed to be fixed.
See, in that case, I will listen to your advisement and not fix it in the way that it needs to be fixed, Louie.
If we ever do get a chance to talk to Owen, I would like to yell at him.
Anything in particular?
It's a secret.
You are allowed to have those.
I just would like to give him some statements.
Me too.
So it goes tits up in Pentress, maybe, probably, per what you've seen. I'm guessing it'll go tits up in Parthenay after. I think I'm hanging around Bastion too often.
Perhaps you are, though. I foresee a lot more of that in the future.
Goody. Just what I
Yes.
wanted.
Quite fond of you.
Well, since he doesn't leave me alone normally, I guess I believe that. It's not like there's actually a lot of nice people in our group anyways, so I don't know why it's me, because I don't think I'm that nice, but, you know, it's probably just lonely. He probably misses his siblings, too. I think that must be it.
You're incorrect.
I mean, he calls us bro all the time.
He calls himself bro.
Well, yeah, but if he wants us to call him bro and he calls us bro, then it's familial.
He doesn't call us bro.
Well, he doesn't call you guys bro, just me. mostly. I mean, he still
Yes.
calls you guys bro, but you guys have your own unique nicknames, and yeah, I'm just his brother.
I think you are incorrect.
Okay. Was that the end of the statement? It was just to tell me I'm incorrect?
Definitionally, yes, I believe that was the end of the statement.
Okay. Huh.
I don't think Bastion understands siblings.
Oh. I mean, I met Lena, and she's like a sister to him.
Potentially.
Okay, well they described each other as siblings, so I thought that was. I feel as though you were trying to tell me something, and I'm not very good at this.
I don't know that it is for me to tell.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I respect that. That's totally fine. Just give me just like maybe a warning. Is he mad at me? Like, is that
No.
okay? Okay, cool. Cause, I
cannot fathom Bastion being mad at you.
I can. He should be. I kind of treat him like crap on purpose.
I know.
Oh,
He knows. I don't think he minds all that much.
that makes no sense. Whatever. I don't understand him.
I imagine you don't.
He's just so much like someone I knew.
Hmm.
What's that small smile for?
It's just interesting.
Okay. I'm happy to be interesting.
You are pretty interesting, Louie.
Well, thank you. I do shows on a regular basis with this group.
You certainly do. For someone who was... For someone who's so used to doing shows with this group, you seemed awfully excited to go to the circus.
Yeah, I mean, I'd never been to one before. I wish... That poor elephant. I don't know. A lot of it sounded more fantastical in stories than actually going to it, though I did enjoy the candy floss part.
That's not a surprise.
But a lot of things about it now, I don't think I'm going to another circus after all that, to be honest.
Who knows? Maybe we'll see the Barcelo brothers again in Pentris.
I don't want to. No. No, I'm good. No. Because what What if we didn't actually catch the person that did that? I know he admitted to doing this before when they questioned him, but I don't exactly trust the words of the coppers, for one thing. And I don't know. It felt too set up. It's
I can see that.
It's just always been bugging me.
It was a strange day, for sure.
Yeah. Why bring up the circus?
Mostly just because you said that it's always a show with the group.
Yeah. I mean, nowadays, I just... Since Bastion said that I was, always getting mad at him, I've been trying not to as much, though I feel like it got worse somehow, somewhere in between. But I don't somehow feel as though I'm as honest with them as I was when we first started traveling together.
This is most certainly true.
But I'm not exactly sure where that starts and begins anymore. I just wanted to keep the peace.
Whose peace?
Theirs.
Clearly. And now?
I don't know what I want.
Well, I suppose.
I guess I would like to see my sister, to find her, but I'm also scared to have her around the others. There's either one of us or a thing following us. I don't want to put her in danger.
A very valid concern.
But at the same time, I feel like today would be one of those days where I really need my sister. I don't think she'll recognize me. But if she doesn't, and I see her, I don't know. I guess in that moment I'll have to decide if I'm gonna talk to her or not, or let her live her life that I'm hoping is good.
That doesn't seem like carving out your own path, Louie.
Is it so wrong to choose to want to help others be happy? Am I not allowed to want that?
It's not wrong, but it's also not right.
I know you think I'm gonna live to longer than a couple years, but that's really hard to agree with.
Is that not more reason for you to find as much happiness as you can?
I don't think you should be allowed to say that to me right now.
Understood.
I can do what's right for the people of this world. That's what I have the ability to do, and that's what I'm choosing to do. I currently see no other options for me. And that's okay.
Understood.
You're not saying... Are you holding back?
I'm always holding back.
Why?
Because that is what my role requires.
Yeah. And that's okay.
You said that you wanted to carve your own path. So it is not my place to tell you your path is wrong, or remind you that you are one of those people in the world. I honestly have no right to even be speaking about your choices or your feelings as a person.
You're very frustrating.
Yes.
I suppose if I don't have that, I don't really know what to do with myself. And I think that's a bit more terrifying.
Perhaps it is simply because I cannot understand. But fear seems lovely.
Do you think there... I know there's a spell that helps one feel another person's emotions. Do you think it would work on you? If you want to know what it feels like, I willingly offer my feelings for you to feel.
I appreciate that, Louie. And I imagine the spell might work on me. Though I do not believe I have the right to feel your fear or your feelings. At least not like this.
Well, if there comes a day where you do have such rights, tell me. I'd prefer it if you didn't hold back so much.
I believe that you feel that way.
The word structure has changed.
That it has.
Is there any other questions you have, since we're up all night?
Yes, there are a few, though I feel like I have gotten the answers for them already.
I'm curious what they were going to be now, even if you do have the answers. Would you tell me?
I cannot.
That's not something I expected from you after all that. I see. Okay. Well, my peculiar friend, I'm going to keep preparing for tomorrow. Feel free to talk or anything with me in the meantime. But I might be a bit more quiet.
All right. I think there is someplace I should be.
Okay.
I should imagine that I'll be back by morning.
I'll miss you. For what it's worth.
I'd say that I'll miss you too, but that would imply that you'd be gone, or that I would. But like you know, stars are ghosts.
I really hate you.
that brings me comfort and relief, though I do not deserve it. And Xander will rise to his feet, but not before bringing his hand down on the statue of himself. As he does, you hear the sound of clay shattering until his hand is flat against the dirt. And then when he pulls it up, there is nothing but ashes. He'll make his way to his feet, put his hands behind his back, and he will walk off into the distance.
Okay. And I believe that is the end of this Yes Please, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you for the next episode of Check Please. Good night, everyone.